Finally, enjoy snippets from these select interviews.
Frankly, I think we've had a lot of people who mostly have been able to achieve what they've achieved and do what they've done in spite of the environment and the challenges, right? As opposed to having an environment and a system that supports them. So are the people doing enough? Yes. Is the system providing enough support? Is the system, is the environment itself ready for them? I'll say not as well as it should. And if you observed in the last 4 years, the vice president, for example, has been very hard on this sector and has been saying, you know, we need to do more. We need to focus on ease of doing business. We need to support the innovation ecosystem. We need to support tech guys. He did the tech tour, visiting various startups. He visited Paystack, visited Andela, you know, all around Lagos. At some point, he was in Silicon Valley, where he met with investors to say to them, you need to come into the country, you need to provide more support for our ecosystem. Everywhere he speaks, he mentions names specifically. You hear him mentioning Marquesian, mentioning Inya Boyeji, mentioning Shola. You know, he mentions specific names of people that have been doing amazing things to show that he's interested in this space and wants to provide that support for them and provide that foundation that was not as good as it should have been.
The startup ecosystem in Abuja is growing. I mean, you can't compare it to Lagos that is more vibrant with more options, but Abuja has seen a growth, especially in the startups that are being funded. We have more developers that are being groomed and bred here in Abuja. Okay, and this is evident in the developer communities that are coming up. We have more of them coming up with more members. We've seen them grow, and not just in the number, but also in the quality of the ideas that are coming up. And we see lots of funding going into enabling developers build structures and build businesses. And I think this encouragement has pushed and compelled people to become developers, to learn how to develop. So it's a growing place, and I think we'll see more of that happening.
Well, I'd like to get your perspective on this. How do you think we can deal with the issue of startups who start here and end up in Lagos?
I don't think it's something that we should discourage or try to stop, because you might be building a solution here in Abuja and your market's in Lagos, so you'd have to go to Lagos. Or you might be building a solution and you would need to test it in Lagos, because Lagos has a larger market sample size for you to test with. So I feel like it's something that would happen, and we shouldn't try to discourage it. Plus, Lagos has a more robust investor community than here in Abuja. So it does happen, and I don't think we should discourage it. But what we can do to help is for us to get more active here in Abuja, for us to encourage more people to build businesses, for us to encourage more investors to spring up in Abuja as well. I think this would help boost the startup ecosystem here as well.
In many other countries, government sort of serves as a bridge for co-working spaces to serve various communities. What role do you think the government should be playing in Nigeria?
There are so many things that the government can do to encourage co-working spaces to set up, and this is in benefit to the country, because an understanding that the more co-working spaces that we have, the more entrepreneurs are able to access support to help them build their businesses. So things like tax incentives for people that want to set up co-working spaces, or a creation of some kind of co-working fund to fund to help people that also want to set up co-working spaces. And the government can in themselves also sponsor entrepreneurs with bright ideas to work out of co-working spaces, because that is a cost element that the government can take care of for these businesses. And for companies that want to engage in CSR, encouraging these companies to fund startups to work out of co-working spaces is another way to help co-working spaces be sustainable, because if the spaces are in themselves sustainable, then they would have better longevity and be able to provide better support.
We were looking at knowledge parks like we saw in Singapore, like we saw in Ireland, like exists in Silicon Valley for Nigeria. You're looking for an ecosystem where you have about 10,000 Nigerian bright minds, doing stuff in IT. I've not seen it. It doesn't happen there. When compared to what India is doing, I mean, I wept for the country when we went to Infosys, where you have 100,000 people with 85,000 residents in campus doing IT with 25,000 people doing software alone. So you can compare that vision to what we have. Up till now, our companies, cannot compete globally because we are too mushroom, we are too small. The largest company that we have used to be CSA with 165 programmers, and now we have probably system spec with close to 400. That doesn't resonate into the scale of what is happening all over the world. And I think it's because of this ignorance and of course the gap of understanding the benefit of what information technology can bring to the survivability and development of the country. That is the gap, and that gap resides at government quarters. Because all over the world, every government is pushing, is promoting, is sustaining, is protecting the IT ecosystem. Because at the end of the day, from research to deployment, it's about human being. What can the human being say? If you don't believe that Nigerians can do it, then automatically that's probably why we are not supporting it. But really, Nigerians can do stuff, as it has been proven elsewhere. The short change is that all what Nigerians are doing, from Andela to ecosystem to hub and whatever, we don't own the IP. Other people own the intellectual property of our country, and that is very worrisome.
The special thing about technology is that it's inclusive in job creation, in the sense that there are opportunities for people no matter their level of education. Giving an example, for example, you can have people who are not graduates, not necessarily graduates, work in organizations like Google, who have taken off the restriction that you have to be a graduate to work in the organization. So it's skill-based. So if you train a young person on AI, on artificial intelligence and data science, they can get jobs anywhere. And also, technology helps young people have access to the gig economy. So for any organization or any country or any state that's interested in creating jobs, exploring how you can connect young people to jobs in tech sector is usually very effective from what we have seen. Things like teaching young people graphics design, web design, skills that are in high demand. And of course, preparing Nigeria for the fourth industrial revolution, because those jobs are coming. And those jobs are going to replace existing jobs. So while you're thinking of creating new jobs, you have to be thinking of how to replace the jobs that are going to get extinct. And the first way to do that is to get young people interested and skilled, highly skilled in technology.
Yes, there's a lot of funding that's coming to Nigeria. First half of this year, over $100 million. But what you're going to find with that funding is that it's only going to a specific set of people, a specific type of people. It's not spread. It's concentrated, for example, around fintech and agri-tech, which are the two priority areas now. Nothing wrong with that, but it's also concentrated at the proven, okay, those who are in growth or scale. It's not addressing the lower the ladder, the seed, and the early stage yet. So those are two. Third, if you look at professional service firms, they want to charge startups the same thing they're charging corporates. It can't work. And we have very, very few organizations such as DIY Law and the Loan Get Practice that are actually addressing startups specifically. ETF and a few others have done an amazing job, but there's still a lot to do around government policies and the kind of support systems and support infrastructure that is required to enable startups to thrive within the Nigerian early stage ecosystem.
Nigeria has a unique opportunity to advance rapidly, if only we can harness the huge potentials by increasing investment in human capital development, infrastructure, security, and also revamping our educational sector. We cannot afford moving ahead without upskilling our population and preparing them for the digital economy. Yes, because we live in a world that is increasingly being shaped by artificial intelligence, algorithms, robotics, quantum computing, and many other forms of disruptive technologies. God willing, Tech Trends on Channels Television will be here to share insights, trends, developments as 2020 progresses. It's a wrap on this edition of the show. Reach out to us on social media at Tech Trends TV. You can watch the entire show on the Channels TV YouTube account or by checking out cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.